Pastor and televangelist Kent Christmas held an event recently where he got these 6 prophets of God on stage with him. Basically a panel of prophets, and they were going to talk about God or whatever. They're going to prophesy in God's name. And it turned into a gigantic Trump stroke fest, basically. The last person to speak at the event was Mario Murillo, so I wanted to just listen to Mario Murillo, see what he had to say. If you're unfamiliar with the guy, he is a hard-line Trump supporter. I mean, you can see it in his eyes. Look at his eyes. You know this guy is a hardline Trump supporter, right? He had some bizarre stuff to say, including but not limited to, he confronted Satan recently. Satan came to his bedroom and told him that Satan was personally going to gender bend, quote unquote, Mario Murillo's kids. So let's listen to this first clip here. He went to talk originally, like the host, Gene Bailey, was like, okay, your turn, Mario. Go ahead and give us prophecy or whatever. And Mario was about to. He puts the mic up to his mouth. He's going to talk, right? And then this guy starts speaking in tongues in the background. Listen.
You can finish it up.
Would you welcome Mario Murillo?
So he puts the mic up to his mouth. Some guy speaking tongues in the background, apparently, and it looks like Mario's upset by that or something, right? Is he upset by somebody speaking in tongues?
Go ahead, Mario.
The guy's like, oh, okay, I guess Jesus doesn't want me to speak in tongues right now, okay.
As we are all here on this strange 4th of July, the strangest that America has known, because we've never endured a fraud election before.
This is propaganda. I feel I have to address it line by line. I'm just going to say there was no fraud election. This is complete nonsense. Mario Murillo bought into it, I think. I don't even know if he believes it. I don't know. He was one of the people who prophesied that Donald Trump was going to win the 2020 election. So I have to imagine he felt compelled to go with the whole fraud narrative because he had no other choice. It's either that or believe that he deserves to be stoned. So anyway, needless to say, there was no fraud election. This guy just doesn't want to believe that he deserves to be stoned.
We've never been in a position where it was so clear that we were under the lash of a rogue government.
Oh, give me a break. You, Mario Murillo, Christian nationalist, evangelical, are under the lash of a rogue government? Please, tell me how. Tell me exactly how you're oppressed by the government. Mario Murillo, evangelical, Christian nationalist. He goes full fear-mongering mode after that. He jumps right into claims about Joe Biden. Listen to this.
I want you to understand what I do. I preach the gospel. There'll be a devil worshiper, a transsexual, an atheist.
Oh, okay. It's getting weird now. I just want to say, for the record, he does not preach the gospel, actually. He distorts and perverts the Bible in large part. This is not your traditional version of Christianity, really. Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses and Catholics and every other denomination out there, they really are not like you. They really aren't. I feel like people don't fully understand how different these people are, or these people's beliefs are. It's like a witchcraft cult. They believe that they have the same powers that witches do. Fortune-telling, divining, creating things out of nothing, like all of it. Everything that the Bible describes witches doing, or every piece of lore that 17th century people believed witches could do, they believe they can do it too. It's just under the power of God. That is literally, in their mind, the only difference between themselves and witches. They believe they are witches for God. This specific brand of evangelicalism. They are not like you, Catholics. They are not like you, Mormons. It is a witchcraft cult. That includes Hank Kunneman, Kenneth Copeland, Robin Bullock, Mario Murillo, Greg Locke, they all believe this way. It is totally different than what you think it is. And you don't realize that until you start digging into it. But I'll prove that even more in a couple of minutes. Wait till the end of this compilation. I have something that'll add to this. Keep listening.
I want you to understand what I do. I preach the gospel. There'll be a devil worshiper, a transsexual, an atheist, and I'll speak to them like I'm going to speak to you for a moment. But everything today is about one thing: the children. Your child, my child. Your grandchild, my grandchild. We are not going to let them grow up in the prison that Joe Biden wants to build.
I didn't see anything in any of Joe Biden's plans for a prison. I haven't heard any mention of prisons. I have no idea what he's talking about right now. It just gets stranger and stranger. We're starting down a rabbit hole right now. Buckle up. He's trying to rewrite history too. Listen to this next clip. This should give you a clear idea that he is from a religious denomination that is very different from the one that you recognize.
America was founded by a group of Christians. I'm going to try it again. A group of Christians.
No, that is incorrect. Again, he's trying to rewrite history. It was not founded by a group of Christians. The founding fathers were deists at best.
I'm going to try it one more time. A group of Christians, and when they landed on these shores, they didn't pray to Baal. They didn't pray or make an atheistic document.
Yes, they did. The Constitution is completely outside of religion. It doesn't contain, it specifically says religion should be separate from the state. So I guess you could say they did kind of make an atheistic document.
They said this land is sacred under Jehovah God and the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Now that's kind of weird, right? Under Jehovah God? I don't remember the Founding Fathers saying anything about that, first of all. And second, Jehovah is not God's name, and nearly no denominations believe it is. Jehovah's Witnesses are unique in the fact that they believe that Jehovah is God's name. Jays didn't exist when the Bible was written. Jays didn't exist in the Hebrew language. That's the only piece of evidence that I need to prove to you that Jehovah isn't God's name. But I'll go further. There used to be this superstition about God's name, like long and long ago. Ancient Jews believed that it was wrong to say God's name. And the ancient Hebrew language didn't have vowels originally. It wasn't written with vowels. All they had were consonants. So the Tetragrammaton in the Bible is the 4 letters that represent God's name. Of course, because it doesn't have vowels. It was originally YHWH. That's what the Tetragrammaton was originally. As time went on, again, Jews had this superstition that you weren't supposed to say God's name. So what they did, since they were standing there reading from these texts, they didn't want somebody to accidentally say it out loud. So what they did was they added the vowels for the word Adonai, which means Lord. Later, like after vowels were added to the language, they added in the vowels for Adonai, which are, the vowels were A, O, and A. I was at the end, but we don't count the last vowel because we didn't need all 4 of them. So the vowels for Adonai were A, O, A. So what they did was they inserted those vowels into the Tetragrammaton because they knew for a fact that's not the right name. They may as well insert the vowels so that if somebody does accidentally pronounce the name that they come across, it's okay. It doesn't matter. And inserting the vowels for Adonai into the Tetragrammaton, YHWH, made it complete nonsense anyways. It didn't matter. When they inserted the vowels to Adonai into the Tetragrammaton, they ended up with YAHOWAH, Yahovah. Like I said, it was nonsense then, and that's specifically why they intentionally did it. They made it nonsense on purpose, so that people wouldn't accidentally pronounce God's real name, which was Yahweh. Centuries later, millennia even, the name eventually passed through the Germanic region, Yahweh. And of course, using a German accent, Y's are pronounced like J's, and W's are pronounced like V's. So as it passed through the Germanic region, it morphed into Jehovah. Eventually, when the King James Version of the Bible was written, they actually wrote it down. They put Iehova originally because, again, J's didn't exist at the time when the King James Version was originally written. As time went on and they released new versions, they eventually changed it to Jehovah. But again, there were almost no mentions of the Tetragrammaton in any Bibles because the Jews had this superstition about pronouncing God's name, and they were the ones that were like producing the Bibles back before the printing press existed, back before the King James Version even existed. They were using versions of the Bible that were being produced by Jews, or that were originally produced by the Jewish people. So they excluded the Tetragrammaton. Now we have the actual original texts like in museums and stuff, and we can actually see what it says. We don't have to rely on faulty translations that were miscopied and miscopied and miscopied over the generations. That's why the name, the Tetragrammaton, only appeared in the King James Version Bible like 2 or 3 times maximum, because it was removed and replaced with my Lord. And the only occurrences said Jehovah, because it had passed through Germanic regions. So the correct name, to get to the point, is Yahweh, not Jehovah. Anyway, let's keep listening to Mario lay incorrect information on us here.
He said, this land is sacred unto Jehovah God and the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Completely incorrect. In every way. There's nothing correct about what he just said. Here's where it gets interesting, though. Leading up to this next clip, he told us that God told him that he needed to get close to the kids. Figure out what the kids like. Figure out what they're interested in, their style, what drugs they use. No joke, that's what he said. I'm quoting him. And he says, after a long what did he say?
After a week of studying everything that our kids are going through.
Yeah, after studying the kids for a week, this happens. Listen to this.
In a late night of study, evil entered my room.
Uh-oh. It's getting real.
And I knew it was evil. The room temperature dropped. It got dark. There was a stench.
Can you prove any of this? Are you sure you didn't fall asleep and dream it? How do we know this wasn't a sleep paralysis situation? You know what? I'm not going to poke holes yet. Keep going.
And I didn't feel like some underling had been sent to intimidate me. And when the devil spoke, he said, I will take your children.
Okay, so the devil shows up in his bedroom late at night and tells him he's going to take his kids.
I will have them. I will put them in an early grave.
You hear these people say, no, no, in the background. Like, they're honestly worked up over this. Listen to this.
I will have them. I will put them in an early grave. I will humiliate them. I will bend their gender.
Bend their gender. I mean, he gave us a whole list there, and that's the one that sticks out to me. That is so funny. What does he even mean by that? The only time I've ever heard that term in my life was when somebody downloaded an app and uploaded a picture of me to the app, and it morphed me into looking like a woman instead of a man. That's the only time I've heard of the term gender bending. Is that what he's talking about? Is he saying that Satan is going to produce apps that allow people to see what they would look like if they were a different gender? Because that exists. We didn't need Satan for that.
And I will, and I will, and I will. Suddenly the glory of God filled the room, and God said, but I will pour out my spirit on your sons and daughters. Somebody shout right now.
Yes, people are already shouting. You don't have to tell them to shout. This is the cringiest shit I've ever seen in my life. It's getting there. I've seen some cringy stuff. This is bad.
And they will prophesy. They will prophesy. Somebody help me. They will prophesy.
Look, people are speaking in tongues on stage right now. These so-called prophets are speaking in tongues. Oh my God, dude. It doesn't get cringier than this, honestly. It really does not. Guess what he does to finish the whole thing off? He decides to do a faith healing event at the end. Listen to this.
So I'm in a tent. The young people are there. They're coming to Jesus, and we give him all the glory.
Doesn't sound like you gave him all the glory. You're taking credit for the stuff that happened at this. It sounds like you're taking some of the glory.
And then this moment will come when the healing power of God will come, like on that man up there in the blue with a heart condition. And God is healing you. Like that one over there, right there, with both migraine headaches, spine that is deeply in pain. Your back and your blood are both issues in your body. If I had an arm that was long enough, I could tap you on the nose.
This is a common faith-healing charlatan's trick. Have people fill out prayer cards at the beginning of the event describing what you want them to pray for. What's bothering you in your life? Give the prayer cards to the prophets on stage before the event, and they can call you out by name during the event to make it look like they know what they're talking about, to make it look like they received divine information from God. That's how this little trick works. It's as dirty and underhanded as cold reading by a psychic. And here he sits, suckering people into believing that he has supernatural powers. Again, like a witch. I said this earlier. They really are from a witchcraft cult. They are trying to convince these people that they're capable of seeing the future and receiving secret information that they couldn't have received any other way. Fortune-telling kind of stuff. This is a witchcraft cult.
Across this auditorium, there are miracles. There are miracles of power. There are going to be medically verified healings as a result of this event.
Medically verified. Awesome. Show me. Show me. That's what I need. Show me the proof. You said medically verified, right? So you're testing the entire audience beforehand, then testing them afterward and seeing the medical change, right? Oh, you didn't mean medically verified, did you? You meant, I want you to believe that there are medically verified events, but I'm not going to offer any proof for it. Right.
But it won't come unless I clearly state why they're coming. He's going to take all of the things we've prophesied. He's going to take all of the excitement that we've generated. He's going to take all of the insights that we've received and turn us into an actual army.
An actual army, you say? Remember, some of the things that were prophesied on stage came from Hank Kunneman, for example, who claimed that Donald Trump was absolutely for sure going to take back the presidency for 2 additional terms, for a total of 3 terms, which means our democracy will be non-existent. It'll be destroyed at that point, because that's unconstitutional. Hank Kunneman prophesied all kinds of bizarre stuff on this stage. And Mario Murillo is standing here telling us God's going to turn these people in this room right now into a literal army, he said, a literal army to make those prophecies happen. I mean, think about how concerning that is. The rhetoric these people are using, they are actually saying they want their Christian followers to turn into an army to make their political wishes come true. Keep listening, it gets more disturbing.
To an actual army that will function in what we've heard, that will trigger. And I'm going to tell you something that you need to understand. I thought you were a remnant, but I was wrong.
Remnant is a reference to a Bible verse that talks about how the church will be fractured or something like that, and the remnant will rise up, and blah, blah, blah.
Because there are more of us than the devil ever imagined. America, listen to me. This army of God is going to be raised up with weapons of power. They're going to march. They're going to move forward. They're going to get out of their safe houses. And they're going to change America.
Is that concerning to anybody else? Pretty concerning to me. An actual army. It sounds like what this guy is doing is planning sedition or planning treasonous action, forming a mobile militia against the U.S. government. Is that not what he's doing right now? Please make it make sense.
So here's the point. Healing virtue is going to flow in this room. Hundreds of you will be healed. Many of you, I could call you out right now. I'm telling you, this man's shoulder right down there, he literally fell, landed on his left side. How many of you know it's one or the other? Left side damaged his shoulder, his neck, his hip, and his entire leg.
Again, common charlatan's trick to make people think that he has divine information from God.
He's being healed by the power of God right down there. You know who you are. Scoliosis, multiple sclerosis, cancer of the throat, cancer of the lungs. Miracle after miracle after miracle.
Prove it. That's all I need. A little proof.
Here's what God is saying. It's coming because of Acts chapter 14, verse 3. And God proved that their message was from Him by giving them power to work great miracles.
Interesting. God proved that it was through Him by giving them power to work great miracles. Great. Now all we need is that actual proof. Just give it to me. I'm waiting. I'll take it. Anything.
In the name of Jesus, pray in the language of the Holy Spirit right now. In the name of Jesus. In the name above every name. Let healing power fall on this crowd and remove tumors. Remove pain in every aspect of the body. Hepatitis C, cancer, diabetes, paralysis, after effects of COVID. In the name of Jesus.
Grotesque. Absolutely grotesque. I'm surprised he even mentioned after effects of COVID. I wasn't sure if he was one of the evangelicals who believes that it's a total hoax, that it's not even real, or if he was one that believed that the government orchestrated the whole thing. At the very least, he believes it's real, so I guess he probably believes the government orchestrated it. I mean, who knows? So here's my question for you guys. Does this guy really believe he's capable of faith healing? Does he actually think he's capable of removing somebody's paralysis? Or is he full of it? Let me know in the comments. Rosalie Bent. American churches are unrecognizable to Christians like me and the rest of the world. They are nothing like us. I agree. Honestly, I don't like to engage in the no true Scotsman fallacy. As a matter of fact, I believe they are Christians. They claim to be Christians. That makes them Christians. But it really is very different. It's a completely different denomination with completely different beliefs and tenets and ideas of everything. Totally different. Again, I feel like if people recognize that, they would not put up with them being in political power. They're not trying to help you. They're trying to help them.